All right, folks, today is the 16th of September, and today wraps up the Toronto International Film Festival. So we're going to go ahead and kind of do a little bit of a wrap-up of that and kind of talk about what's really hitting so far in the Oscar race and what, if any, films really at this rate are kind of dead on arrival. I mean, usually we'll have a couple. Like last year, Mother was thought to be at this stage, maybe an outside kind of dark horse contender, but then that one fell flat, especially when it was released wide. Um, and then the same with Suburbicon, especially last year. I mean, my God, that thing came out of the festivals with like a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it didn't didn't get much better from there. Anyways, so yeah, there's usually one or two like that kind of fall short and really are films that don't get regarded as well. So, definitely through the films we mentioned here today at TIFF, there's definitely going to be some that are going to play big later at the Oscars and some that we can, eventually we're going to toss aside and really this will be their, last shot here. But anyways, regardless, before we get to that though, actually I did see a couple of films recently. Finally caught up with Crazy Rich Asians yesterday. I had a lot of fun with it. It's definitely a lot of cliched territory for rom-coms. Definitely feels like Big Fat Greek Wedding and Best Friend's Wedding and kind of some of those other films. But told from the vantage point both behind and in front of the camera from Asian American crews and actors, though, or just Chinese or Singaporean actors. I thought was a kind of a different take there, and I thought it's nice to see a different view like that. Now, as far as its Oscar chances go, well, Michelle Yeoh, I should say, is getting a little bit of love in the supporting actress category, and from what I saw of the film and her performance, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, her. I don't know. I mean, like I said, that supporting actress category right now looks like the weakest. Just competition-wise, by the way, of the acting categories this year, it looks like supporting actor is starting to heat up now. Lead actress is pretty competitive at this rate. Lead actor, there's a fair amount to talk about there. So yeah, I think supporting actress is really the one where it's like we've got it at this point. I'm considering, I think like anywhere between 10 and maybe 11 or 12 potential nominees at this rate. Now, obviously, somebody could come out of nowhere in the last part of the race here, and then then we have some more stuff to talk about. But at this rate, I'm talking for the other categories, we're talking 15 plus possible nominees too. So that's not a discouragement, I think, against the category or against performances or anything. It's just competition wise. I think whittling it down to 5 in that category is going to be a little bit easier than the other three categories. But yeah, otherwise. As far as Best Picture goes, I don't know at this stage. I mean, obviously, a lot of films still have to be released. There's still a fair amount that hasn't been shown at the festivals yet, so it's not a lock by any means, and I don't think it's, right now, I don't think it's even in my top 15, probably, for likely to be nominated, but probably in the top 20, 25, somewhere in there. Then I also I saw The Meg, too, but that was just kind of a fun, popcorn adventure film. I enjoyed it for what it was. And then also White Boy Rick, which for me, the film overall was decent. It was okay, but the standouts were definitely Richie Merritt, I believe is his name, who plays the actual title character of White Boy Rick, and McConaughey, who I guess is probably likely going to be in the supporting actor race for this, at least when they're campaigning him. I'll tell you what, I thought he gave one of his best performances to date. For me personally, I really liked him in that role. He's sympathetic, but at the same time, there is a lot of manipulation with his character that passes on to his son. And I like the way that the film kind of told his the main character's story from his perspective. It wasn't an outside kind of voice kind of making the father out to be a bad guy all the way through, because really in real life it's like what this guy did to kind of not manipulate his son, but really kind of put his son into certain situations. He would be considered the villain outright, but the way it's told here from the kid's perspective in a way makes him out to be a kind of anti-hero in a way where you're like, you understand why he's doing what he's doing to kind of keep the dinner on the table for him and his son and his parents and the sister too, if she is hanging around. So McConaughey's performance, I thought, was probably in the top 3 or 4 of his career, definitely. Like I said, the film itself was okay outside of that, and Richie Merritt was great. I think he's like 17, 18, but whatever. I think he's probably got a few films left in him for that kind of stuff. So hopefully, yeah, he shows up in a couple more projects. He was pretty good. And yeah, otherwise, yeah, the rest of the cast was decent and everything. Nothing else I think really stands out. But yeah, I think I thought it was a good film, and definitely, if anything's going to be mined out of it, Oscar-wise, it's going to be McConaughey. All right. Now, Rotten Tomatoes did a new thing this year where they're doing the Toronto Film Festival scorecard, which makes my life a hell of a lot easier because now I can just go through the list here of films that were showing at TIFF that got reviewed by the critics and everything there. So they've got it, of course, organized by score. So they have like the 100% up top, and usually there's a few like foreign films or small independent films which only get 12 or 13 reviews and they're all fresh. So there's usually a fair amount of 100% out of the festival and everything. So that shouldn't be any surprise. And I think our lowest one was around like 12% or something like that. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Anyway, so right up toward the top here, I don't know if these are organized in any way like alphabetically or if these are by the average rating too, but the first one was Wildlife. This was a Sundance one. We've talked about this before. It's Paul Dano's directorial debut. It's got 41 reviews, all of them fresh. 7.8 is the average rating out of 10. Again, this one I'm really focused on either Gyllenhaal or Mulligan really coming up with some possible nominations here. The next one up is Can You Ever Forgive Me? Now, this one I'm starting to think, at first I was like, well, Best Actress for Melissa McCarthy probably, but that's probably going to be about it. I'm starting to think this one now could maybe play for a couple more categories. Like, I think I said last time that I've got Richard E. Grant in for Supporting Actor. He and McCarthy both got great reviews for their work here. And I'm thinking Best Picture is not out of the question yet. I don't have it in my top 10 or 9 films, depending on how many they nominate this year. It's not there for me yet, but I think it's on that, somewhere in that top 15 range. And also, I would say adapted screenplay is also a possibility here. That has also been given a lot of credit. So the average rating here was 7.7 out of 10. Again, all fresh reviews on that. So yeah, those two I think were the only ones that are still at 100% from that also played at a former festival. We also saw the premiere of The Hate U Give here at TIFF. This one, I'll tell you what. I think I talked about this last time, but I thought when I watched the trailer for this, I'm gonna, cynical mind of me is saying, this will probably be an overblown race epic, especially from a big studio like 20th Century Fox. But no, it looked like the trailer was a very kind of intimate look at this, and it wasn't a big grandiose epic of of racial divide and everything. But it does look like it's very centrally focused on the main character. And, reviews show 100%, 8.3 out of 10 for the average rating. Only 15 reviews on this one, so maybe once it gets closer to its wide release, it actually got bumped up, too. That was the other news out of Toronto there. Fox is now going to put it into limited release on October 5th, and then it'll go into wide release the 2 weeks later on the 19th, which was the original release date. Now, this one I'm actually starting to think could actually be a bigger player than we maybe initially thought. Amandla Stenberg is the name of the main actress. She could be, we've seen like Quvenzhané Wallis and a couple other younger lead actress nominees in the past few years. She could be one. The screenplay, it sounds like, is pretty well done and be in the adapted category. Picture, again, is definitely, I think, a possibility for that one, too. Okay, we'll move on now to what's next here. What they had. I think we talked about this one before. It was also at Sundance. It's kind of like a personal family drama. You've got Michael Shannon, Hilary Swank, Robert Forster, Blythe Danner, if I can say her name correctly. And they're kind of the main 4 here. This one is at 100%, 7.3 out of 10 for the average rating. Only 10 reviews though, so we'll see if now this one I think comes out at the end of October, and right now I don't think it's on a lot of people's radar, but I think just in case it comes up a little more later on, we'll mention that one. Okay, and the last one here at 100% right now on Rotten Tomatoes. Again, only 10 reviews though. Is 7.7 out of 10 the average rating. Green Book, and I actually just read this is our winner for the Audience Award this year. And the last couple of years now, they've been pretty surprising with what they go for the Audience Award. Like last year was Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which I think took off massively from that. And then once it got its debut there in early November and really got the big critical surge and everything, that's when that movie really started taking off. We'll have to see if that's the same for Green Book. This one, it's another kind of racially driven story, and it's kind of a road trip film. Not surprising. Again, this is from one of the directors of Dumb and Dumber and Kingpin, Something About Mary, and Me, Myself, Irene, all those 90s and early 2000s comedy films. So this one, Mahershala, I think wisely, I think I talked about this last time, if they're really wise here, and it looks like they are, they're going to put Mahershala into the supporting actor category and Viggo Mortensen into the lead actor category. That way they're not crowding each other out, for a spot there. And it looks like that's going to be the case. And, right now the reviews are saying both of them are very, very great performances, especially Mahershala Ali, who maybe gets the edge on Viggo a little bit from what the reviews I've read have said. But I'm starting to think, usually your Audience Award winner at TIFF here is a big player at the Oscars. Let's see, we'll bring up, let me bring up a list of like the former winners and all that. Let's see here, awards, now I gotta, okay, it should give the list. Okay, here we go. Because there's usually a lot of crossover here. Like last year it was Three Billboards, and that was a Best Picture nominee. La La Land won a couple years before that, almost won Best Picture, was the Best Picture winner for 2 minutes. Then Room won for 2015. Imitation Game was there 2014. 12 Years a Slave went on to win Best Picture in 2013. Silver Linings Playbook won for 2012. King's Speech was the winner for 2010. Precious was 2009. Slumdog Millionaire 2008. Let's see here. Yeah, then after that, there was kind of a period there where they didn't really line up for a while. But yeah, we've seen that's what the last. What would that be? The last 6 have been Best Picture nominees, and one of them went on to win Best Picture, technically 2, but we're not going to get into that whole debacle again. But anyways, so that's really spells out some strong word of mouth for this film, and it also opens in November, like Three Billboards did last year, but it's kind of I believe it's the weekend before. It's either the weekend before or the weekend of Thanksgiving, so I definitely see that one playing limited audience first, then going wide, and it's Universal, who also has First Man. That's going to open wide actually in a little under a month here, so so that one, again, kind of like last year, I think a lot of people were expecting Shape of Water or, what was the other one? Shape of Water or... Call Me By Your Name was one I remember people talked about a lot at that time. What was there last year? I'm trying to think. Was Lady Bird there last year? Because I know that's one that... I'm trying to think. Lady Bird. Let me just do a search here. Yep, it was there last year, and I believe it was in competition and everything. So, yeah, that was one I think a lot of people had their eye on, and... Call Me By Your Name ended up being the second runner-up for the Audience Award. I, Tonya was the runner-up. All 3 of those films were pretty great last year. So yeah, usually my tastes really line up with this too, but not 2016. La La Land was in my top 5 that year. Lion was the runner-up, and that I didn't even give a positive review to that one. I didn't see Queen of Katwe. That was the second runner-up. Yeah, we'll get to the runner-up and second runner-up here for this year when we get to their excuse me, their respective films. For whatever reason, I can't talk now. Anyway, but yeah, now Green Book, I'm starting to think, okay, that's Best Picture nominee now. Probably it's an original screenplay, and that original screenplay category this year is going to be way less crowded than last year, so I'm putting that one in. I'll probably put, yeah, that's right. I forget. I already updated my Gold Derby profile and all that for a few of the categories there. And I've went ahead and put Vigo in for lead and Mahershala in for supporting, both just nominees at this stage. Not putting this one up number one yet. Not like, and even for me last year when I put 3 Billboards out front pretty early, I didn't do that till November. That was like the first weekend of November, so that was almost a full month and a half after it won the Audience Award at TIFF. So, okay, so next one up is Roma. This we've talked about it. I believe it's played at all the festivals. Is Alfonso Cuarón's new film. 98%. There's only one person out there who gave it a bad review. Everybody else has loved it. Average rating 9.2 out of 10, which I believe is the highest average rating per review of any film really this year that we're really talking about Oscar-wise that's been released or been screened. And Roma was the second runner-up this year for TIFF. Now this one I was thinking, this year if I had to put a guess on what was going to win the Audience Award, I was leaning on either First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk, Roma. Let's see, what was the other one? I had those four. I had no clue on Green Book. A lot of people were loving The Hate You Give, so I said maybe that one. And then, A Star Is Born is also one that I was thinking had a decent shot. I'm kind of looking through the general list here, but yeah, I would say probably one of those were going to be my guess for what was going to be the Audience Award winner. And Green Book was not even on my radar yet. So anyway, Roma, I'm still thinking that's probably going to be in for director, picture. It is another original screenplay, so that one would probably get in at this rate. Probably, we're looking in a few tech categories too, like the cinematography, potentially editing, all that fun stuff. Okay, Steve McQueen's new film Widows also was here at TIFF. 97%, average rating 8.2 out of 10. And again, just one bad review, the rest of them all fresh. So this is one, again, a lot of people are saying this is more of just kind of a crowd-pleasing, kind of, less emotionally enthralling as, say, 12 Years a Slave or a couple of his other previous films. That still being said, I think it's not in my Best Picture list right now, but again, it's in that top 15. Same with McQueen for director. I think I don't have him in my 5 right now, but I think that's a possibility. And a lot of great reviews, and I'm glad I nailed this one early, was Daniel Kaluuya, who looks like he gives maybe even better performance than he did in Get Out. And I don't know how how well I expressed this last year, but personally I did not really see Kaluuya's performance last year in Get Out as an Oscar-worthy one, at least for Best Actor of all things, really. I mean, he was good in the film, no doubt, but I don't think he was even in my top 15 that year for performances by an actor in a leading role. So I'm thinking, this one, it looks like he's got a much, again, maybe maybe just based off the reviews, because probably the same reviews said the same thing about him in Get Out. But I've got him in for supporting actor. I think he'll be nominated also for Viola Davis too. And there's also, you've got 3 other widow characters in the film: Michelle Rodriguez, Elizabeth Debicki, and Cynthia Erivo, I believe is how you pronounce her name. Any one of them could pop up for supporting actress. Okay, another one, Vox Lux. We talked about this one a little bit. I believe was picked up by Neon, so now it does have a distributor. They have not put a release date on this thing yet, at least to my knowledge, which shows that, it's 96%, average rating of 8 out of 10. Again, only one bad review, the rest of them all fresh. But, that's the thing, is if Neon can get this thing, released in time, which they picked up I, Tonya last year, and that, went on to be 3 nominations. So we'll see if they can pull off that magic again with Vox Lux. But first, they have to date it. They have to make sure they get it qualified in time for this year. Let's see. Oh, one we didn't really talk about was Fahrenheit 11/9. It's Michael Moore's new documentary that's all against Trump and very politically driven in that way. 92% on this one. I believe it opens next weekend, so we'll see how that one does at the box office. If it's anything like Fahrenheit 9/11, that'll be a big box office player. And he did win famously Bowling for Columbine, where he went on stage and really attacked Bush. So I don't think he's going to get the same reception this year, though, if he happened to win again. Again, for the documentary category, I do think this one still belongs to the Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers doc. But yeah, this one, I'm seeing a couple bad reviews, but who knows? Maybe they're from very conservative outlets. Everybody else is really praising the film, not really for its stance so much as for its actual quality, which, and speaking from somebody who's from the Midwest, I don't need to say what my political siding is, but just for the sake of fairness, it's like I don't really think that films like this, if they're taking a particular stance against whether it's president or a governor or anybody in power, and all the reviews are fresh just because it's tackling the subject, that I think is kind of that's a little biased, but yeah, I've read through quite a few of the reviews. It looks like a lot of them are positive reviews talking about his quality as a documentarian, which Michael Moore, is definitely one of the more popular ones for sure. And yeah, usually his films do get good reviews, and yeah. So, but yeah, for the most part, it sounds like this is one to keep an eye on. Okay, next up, Star is Born. This one, 96%. More reviews on this one since it did play at both Telluride and or was it at Telluride? I think it. No, it wasn't. No, it was only at Venice before this. But 8.1 is the average rating out of 10. Again, at this stage, I'm kind of thinking over everything. I don't have an in for lead actor yet for Bradley Cooper, or lead actress for Lady Gaga, or if she'll go as Stephanie, whatever her real name is. Don't have either of them in yet, but I think they're close to breaking in. We'll see. We'll see how the rest of the award shows go. I think they're both in for the Globes for that comedy musical category, and the film is probably going to be the front runner in that for the best motion picture comedy or musical as well. We'll see if I don't know, because then a lot of people have said the screenplay is good too, and Bradley Cooper had a hand in that. And if it's nominated for Best Picture, which I do have it getting nominated for, that he could get up to 4 nominations then for the film. If he also gets in for director, which I know, again, a lot of people are putting him in at this stage, but I don't know. It's then again, Jordan Peele and Greta Gerwig last year, first time actors turned directors, and they both got in. So yeah, I'm still a little shaky on this one. For being like a full blown 10 nominee picture, but I don't know. I could change my mind later on that. Okay, then we've got mid-90s is at 94%. This is Jonah Hill's debut. All but one review is good on this one, 7.1 out of 10 average rating. This one I'm not sure, because A24 is behind this one, which usually means pay attention, but yeah, I'm just not sure if this film's going to get nominated. Where's it going to be nominated at? Because from the sounds of it, it's Jonah Hill does a decent job directing it. I don't know if that means he gets in for Best Director. I don't know if it means he gets in for Picture necessarily, but none of the performances, I guess, from the reviews really stood out as dominant performances in a respective category somewhere. Again, this might be, unlike Disaster Artist last year, which is kind of, was in this, I don't want to say the same vein, but kind of, from the same mindset where you have like a Judd Apatow alum behind it. With Franco in that case. I could see that one, getting in potentially for picture, in for director, lead actor, adapted screenplay, on down the list there. But it was like, this one, I'm just having a hard time really picturing it in a few of those races. Okay, one I'm starting to have my eye on too is Colette, the new Keira Knightley film. She could get in for lead actress, definitely. This one does open in limited release next week here in the States. Uh, and yeah, Knightley's performance, I guess, is the really the big thing that's getting the push here. Otherwise, Dominic West, I guess, would be in supporting actor in that race, and sounds like he's pretty good in it too. We'll see about Best Picture and the rest of those, but yeah, looks like Knightley's going to be the big talk from that one. All right, now we get to If Beale Street Could Talk. And this one, 91%, average rating of 8.6 out of 10. And this was, the runner-up for the audience award. So, yeah, which is kind of surprising because Moonlight was not. Was it at TIFF? Yeah, it was there. So last year, or 2 years ago, I should say. That one, I'm looking back in retrospect, I'm really surprised wasn't on any of the audience award lists at that stage. But like I said, that I still have maybe some conspiracy theories on how that one still won Best Picture. But yeah, that one, it still feels like to me it was like early on everybody's like, yeah, it's good, but it wasn't until that last wave right before the awards happened where everybody kind of all of a sudden turned and said, why isn't Moonlight winning? And then that took off. But anyways, yeah, I've talked about that on length, so we're not going to get into that discussion again. But strangely enough, though, I did read a couple of the early reviews for this one that I read, like the first couple out of the first screening. There were a couple critics who just downright really either didn't like it or number two were kind of I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but it was kind of like begrudgingly good reviews, like just from the sense, from the writing and everything. It was like they didn't really like it, but they felt like they needed to give it a good review. Maybe it was just me, and again, I don't want to. I'm not naming any names here or anything, but yeah, the first couple of reviews, I was like, uh-oh, maybe Jenkins had a misstep with this one. But then the rest of the reviews came in, and I'm like, nope, never mind. Everybody else turned out really, really liked it. So yeah, this one I still think is in for picture, director. Definitely lead actress for Kiki Lane is a possibility. Supporting actor for Stephen James. I believe they're going to angle him in the supporting actor category, which again I think is the smart move. Since he's not really a big known commodity yet to break into Best Actor, especially with the race this year. And again, like I said, we said that last year about Daniel Kaluuya, and he ended up with a nomination, kicking out like Franco and Tom Hanks and a couple of the other bigger profile names last year. I still have Regina King for supporting actress as she'll be the early front runner there. I still suspect. Yeah. So this one, otherwise, it sounds like everything else is up to par on it. So again, maybe a couple, a couple reviews that I read early on where it was, very, again, kind of begrudging reviews or people that were on the fence, liked it but didn't love it, But anyways, yeah. Next up is First Man, which again, it played at all the festivals and is 87%. Average rating is 7.7 out of 10. And is in the most fucking ridiculous controversy I've ever seen in my goddamn life. I mean, for me, it trumps the Three Billboards racist controversy last year, which again I've talked about at length, so I don't need to bring that up again. But this one with the whole is the the flag and the movie thing. I haven't seen it, but from everybody else's stance, it's like that particular moment where he sticks the flag into the moon is, I guess, is not in the film, or if it's in the film, it's briefly touched upon and not, not a big center moment. But, I think a lot of other people defended it and they've said, and again, having not seen it, I can't back this up, but it's like, this is a Neil Armstrong biopic. That's why it's called First Man, not First Landing or First Mission or First, First Persons on the Moon or whatever. It's called First Man. Yeah, so it's centering on Armstrong. And again, I think this is still in for picture, director, actor, supporting actor, screenplay, and it'll probably be up for, again, kind of the front runner in some categories like score and maybe the sound categories. And there's one other, maybe not cinematography this year. No, there was one other category that a lot of people were talking about, but I can't remember what it is right Maybe not visual effects either, from what I've heard. But anyways, sounds like this one, A Star Is Born, or maybe Roma, or one of those could be the most nominated film on Oscar morning. Okay, next up, The Old Man and the Gun. This is at 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 7.2 is the average rating out of 10. And yeah, the big word out of this one is Robert Redford for lead actor, and maybe a little love also for supporting actress for Sissy Spacek. But yeah, it sounds, almost every review I've read mentions that this is, if this is supposedly Robert Redford's last film, this is a hell of a way to go out, and one of his best performances in years. So yeah. So it sounds like that's going to be, again, kind of the limits for that film's Oscar chances. Next up, Boy Erased. This is another one I think could be a more nominated film. It's Joel Edgerton's new film, 88%, 7.3 average rating out of 10. Yeah, Lucas Hedges, I guess, gives one of his best performances. Nicole Kidman's great. Russell Crowe's pretty good. Edgerton himself is good, both in front of and behind the camera. A couple people didn't really like it, but that's all right. Yeah, it's overall the reviews are really pretty good on this one. Again, I'm thinking definitely Best Picture is a possibility. It's not in my 10 yet at this stage, but it's again in that top 15 in there. Edgerton, again, I'm not putting him in for director yet, but he's one to look out for. We've got I think Hedges gets in for actor. Kidman, I'm on the fence about. I think I took her out actually for supporting actress, but I don't know. I might go back on that. I took Edgerton out for supporting actor in favor of Mahershala Ali, but I definitely think still screenplay is a possibility, and I think that probably the top categories where this one's looking. Kindergarten Teacher was also here. This will be a Netflix release. I believe it comes out next month on Netflix. 87%, 7.1 average rating out of 10. Now, like I had my kind of reasons for not putting Netflix films in the nominations last year, but I think now that the Academy is kind of over their Netflix bias, I think now is when, like, Roma is another one that's Netflix, and 22 July, this one, Buster Scruggs, so now I think that kind of opens the floodgates to, films getting in for, like, picture, director, the acting categories, more than Mudbound and a couple others did last year. Kindergarten Teacher might be one of those, but again, kind of the sole category we're focusing on here is Best Actress for Gyllenhaal. We'll see, but overall I think this one, and I saw the trailer for it too. Trailer actually looked very interesting. I thought it would be a very kind of laid-back kind of film, but it kind of looks almost like a thriller in some ways, which is very interesting. Ben is Back was also here, 86%. Peter Hedges is the director here. Lucas Hedges, his son, is the star here. 6.2 is average rating out of 10 on this one. I am not very confident on how this film is going to do at the Oscars. I think Lucas, his performance in Boy Erased is getting better reviews than his performance here, though he's good in this, is what I hear too. And then Julia Roberts, she's actually getting, I think, better reviews for this one than Hedges is. In fact, a couple have said this is her best since going back to her Oscar-winning role, Erin Brockovich. So I'm not sure yet. Hang on a second. Who's even behind this one? Lionsgate and Roadside Attractions. I'm not sure if they're angling her for lead actress or supporting actress. At this rate, I would say it's a little safer to put her in supporting actress, but I haven't seen the film, so I don't know her screen time. But evidently she is very, very good in this too. So I think, again, the acting categories is probably going to be the limit there. Going down here to the next one, Sisters, Brothers. This was another Venice film. I believe it was also at Telluride. No, it wasn't. Okay, scratch that. 86%, 7.4 average rating out of 10. John C. Reilly is getting a lot of the great reviews for this, surprisingly. Him and then both Riz Ahmed and Jake Gyllenhaal for the supporting actor category, I guess, are getting some love here, with Riz probably being the favorite there. But sounds like this one is kind of a dark comedy westerns, which we don't get many of these days. In fact, I can't think of any other dark comedy westerns. If you want to consider something like No Country for Old Men, maybe, but even then, that was a very dramatic film, so I don't see that one as a dark comedy in any ways. But yeah, I do suspect this one will probably do better at the Globes than it will at the Oscars if it gets into that comedy or musical category. If it's drama, then it's a little tougher for either John C. Reilly or Joaquin to break in. But again, yeah, this one I'm not sure how it's going to do at the Oscars, but probably not going to be a big player at this stage. And then next up, this one way lower on the list than I thought it would be is Beautiful Boy. Wow, this one, I think Suspiria at the Venice Film Festival really disappointed with. I think it was pretty split score there, like 52%. Beautiful Boy, not far behind there. It's well, actually, I shouldn't say not too far ahead of that. 78%, average rating of 6 out of 10. This one, as a film, I guess, doesn't really work for a lot of the critics there. What does work, though, are the performances by Carell and especially Timothée Chalamet. And I've heard, in particular, from a couple of critics, better than his performance in Call Me By Your Name, which was nominated last year. In my opinion, of the 5 nominees that year, that was probably the best performance in that category. But anyway, so this one, all of a sudden, yeah, I've kind of turned heads on this one. I think it's out for director. I pulled it out for Best Picture in favor of Green Room. I pulled out Steve Carell in favor of Vigo. I think Timothée, if he's not going to be the early front runner, he's definitely in second place. I'm going on a wild sight unseen bid on Sam Rockwell for Backseat, which might totally collapse, but I don't know yet. Yeah, and I think I pulled it out also for screenplay. I think. Let me just double check. We'll go through my updated predictions here at the end, but. I pulled that out for that, and I put in "Can You Ever Forgive Me?" So yeah, so what I said about that one earlier, you can scratch that. I took out "Beautiful Boy" to replace that. Anyway, so at this rate, Timothée is the only one I have left in, and I think he and maybe Carell, because I do think, even though I just pulled it out now, I think he's definitely in that top 10 for Best Actor, at least at this stage. So maybe those two might be about it for this one. All right, then going down the list. Let's see, the next one here. I will mention this one. I don't think it's going to be an Oscar prospect, but Halloween also had its debut at TIFF. 83%, average rating 7.2 out of 10. This and Suspiria, it's going to be a hell of a year for horror films, at least for the end of the year here. But this one, Halloween, just a side comment here, but I've read a lot of trades saying tracking numbers on this are indicating a $60 million opening weekend for Halloween. What the fuck? Just for me personally, I mean, we just saw The Nun open to $52 million, and that was a big surprise. So I don't see how Halloween is going to top that. I mean, if it is, wow, that's incredible. But especially when you look at the original film 40 years ago, grossed $60 million, but that was after being in release for 8 months or however long they kept it in release that back then. But god damn, that's incredible. But yeah, it sounds like most people are liking this one, and especially Jamie Lee Curtis's return. So again, not an Oscar prospect, but definitely something that stood out to me. All right, getting back on the list here though, Destroyer is up next. 84%, average rating of 6.8 out of 10. Really, it sounds like for this one, Nicole Kidman's really the big highlight here. This one, I believe, is coming out Christmas Day or right around Christmas from Annapurna. But I think they're going to really focus their attention on, they've got Backseat, which as long as that is good, then it sounds like they'll really focus on that one for like picture and director and lead actor, supporting actor or actress or both, depending on where Amy Adams falls in this. That does leave a spot if they want to campaign Nicole Kidman, especially hard for her for lead actress here. Because it does sound like this is one of probably her best performance since Lion a couple years ago. Now again, I know I said I didn't like the movie, but as I stressed multiple times that year, her and the guy who got nominated for that, the Slumdog Millionaire guy. But anyways, both of them were terrific and absolutely should have been nominated that year, though. All right, next up, Paul Greengrass's new film, 22 July. This one a little low, 81% for this one. Average rating 7 out of 10. So it sounds like Greengrass is not really living up to his heights of United 93 and a couple of those other ones. But yeah, still, it is a Netflix film, so we'll see. But it sounds like from the talks of it here, if Netflix is going to put all their money into the big categories there, they're going to push for Roma and not that one. Oh, speaking of Roma, one other thing I didn't mention yet was that one is going to be the official Mexican nominee for foreign language film, their official candidate. So yeah, so I think that one is probably looking in good shape to be like Amour that year, which was a foreign language film and a Best Picture nominee. All right, and then we're going to go down the list here. There's only one or two left here. Peterloo. This is Mike Leigh's new film, 6.3 out of 10 average rating. This one, I've read a lot of people's reviews that say that the last half hour, 45 minutes where the actual conflict of the Peterloo Massacre comes into play, really good. But everything else up until that is kind of a bore. With the exception of like the work and like the costumes, production design, and that stuff. Which usually, like Mike Leigh's films, if they're a possible nominee there, they'll either win or they'll be nominated. Like Mr. Turner got 4 nominations, even without a Best Picture, and a couple other higher up nominations there. Then we already kind of talked about White Boy Rick a little bit. This one is also now open in theaters, so it's 6.3 out of 10 average rating. Again, I kind of said my piece on that one. McConaughey is probably the only prospect left from that one. Another one a little further down the road here is The Frontrunner, Jason Reitman's new film. 64% average rating of 6.2 out of 10. Again, we kind of talked about this one. Hugh Jackman was really the big show stealer here. Everything else, I guess, is okay. It's a couple people saying this is his Reitman's best film since Up in the Air and Juno. But a couple others are saying it's still not up to that level yet. So, yeah, we'll see. That one opens in November, so we'll see how that one does. Okay, and I think we only had two films. Well, we can mention the other one too here, anyways. But Outlaw King was another one. This will be another Netflix entry. I think it comes out October, November. Somewhere in there on Netflix. 38%, 5.8 out of 10 average rating. So it sounds like the reunion of Chris Pine and David Mackenzie from Hell or High Water didn't work out with Outlaw King. Yeah, a lot of people saying it's just kind of a bore. So, yep, and another case where the opening film of TIFF is kind of cursed. So, yeah. Then The Predator was also here. That's also in wide release. I didn't see that one yet, and I don't know. I mean, the review's 34%, so not everybody's liking it. We'll see. I don't know. I was really pumped for this one up until a couple weeks ago or whatever, because it's Shane Black, who I love Shane Black. Like especially, I always go back to that first Lethal Weapon movie. He wrote the screenplay for that. But that first Lethal Weapon movie, that needs to be given a lot more credit than it does. It's for me, it's definitely in the top 3 action films ever made. Die Hard's definitely up there. Raiders of the Lost Ark is definitely up there, and now this year, Mission Impossible, man, Fallout. That's close. That's probably in my top 5. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I was kind of disappointed to hear that one, and then also the trailers I didn't think were very good either. Yeah. So too bad. I think either whether it's studio interference or because there were a lot of reshoots on this one too, or if it was just Shane Black's script just wasn't up to par, whatever it was. But anyways, yeah. Last one we'll mention, and this one, boy, I was sitting around with a group of other people the other day. We were kind of talking about this, but Life Itself, the new Dan Fogelman film, sounds like you should have stuck to working hard on season 3 of This Is Us, because this is I don't know who in particular's review we read, and I don't know if it was listed on Rotten Tomatoes or not, but whoever it was, oh my God, they ripped this film a new asshole. They were just like, this is like offensive to any human being. It was like absolutely just a harsh review, absolutely harsh. Then again, I have read a couple reviews where they gave it full, somebody gave it a 5 out of 5, somebody gave it an 8 out of 10. Just from what I've read on Rotten Tomatoes here, just from their little blurbs. I didn't read the full reviews on those, but so I guess a couple people it really worked for. Everybody else hates it. I mean, fucking hates it. So Yeah, that one I guess mixed reviews. No, we'll say that. 4.7 is the average rating out of 10 on this one. 20%. Yeah, this one, like I think I mentioned it before, was not. I don't think by any means was a guaranteed Best Picture nominee by any stretch, especially off the trailers and stuff. But yep, sounds like this one is DOA, big time DOA. Anyway, so yeah, so I guess that was about it for TIFF. Yeah, like we mentioned, Green Book was our People's Choice Award winner here, or Audience Award. People's Choice Award is a different thing. Audience winner for Best Film here was Green Book. Again, kind of a surprise here, but yeah. Okay, with that being said, real quick to wrap this up, we'll go through my updated Oscar predictions here. First up is Best Picture. I've still got First Man out front at this stage. Again, that's mainly because I do believe either this or If Beale Street Could Talk or Roma, maybe The Favorite, maybe, and maybe The Star is Born could be the most nominated films Oscar morning. Whatever I think gets that title, if you will, I think will probably be an early frontrunner if we don't already have a frontrunner by that stage. Then If Beale Street Could Talk is number 2, Black Klansman number 3, The Favorite number 4, Roma number 5, Green Book number 6, Mary Queen of Scots in 7th, A Star is Born 8th, Black Panther in 9th, and Backseat in 10th. Again, a couple to keep in mind here that I don't have on here right now are Widows, Can You Ever Forgive Me, Beautiful Boy, Boy Erased, Crazy Rich Asians, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Hate You Give, I would say, definitely. And yeah, I think we're starting, what is that, 17 films. Wow. I don't know, maybe it's not going to be like, last year we had like, not everybody had the Post in last year to get a Best Picture nomination. I definitely did not have Phantom fucking Thread. I have to rewatch that. Maybe I'll like it more the second time around. Because actually, a quick story here. For last year, Best Picture, I watched The Post again. Because the first time I watched it, I was pretty underwhelmed by it. But the second time, I liked it a lot more the second time. I thought, well, number one, I thought the performances stood out a lot more. Definitely Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. And yeah, but I thought overall the story, because the first time I watched it, I was like, the first third was just really dull, and I just could not get into because it's about like the first third is about Ben Bradley's working on the Nixon Cox wedding, and it's like who fucking cares? And you got Meryl Streep over here with like her at the stock exchange and everything, and how the Post is becoming a public company again. Who cares? But then once it really gets into the Pentagon Papers and the New York Times articles and all that stuff by what's his name? They mentioned his name a few times. When that starts happening, and then Bradley wants the papers, and then they start actually getting the papers, that's when it actually really clicked on, and I thought really picked up. But I have not seen Phantom Thread since then. And I remember, again, I was very lukewarm on that one, too. So, yeah. But anyways, I definitely did not have Phantom Thread in there last year. But yeah, sounds like this year, if as long as this holds, as long as we don't have somebody all of a sudden come up from nowhere, 17 films are the ones that I have right now. Okay, Best Director, I have Spike Lee out front for Black Klansman. I'm going to stick to that for a little bit. We'll see what happens. Damien Chazelle for First Man, Barry Jenkins If Beale Street Could Talk, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, and Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favorite as my 5. Again, look out for Bradley Cooper. Steve McQueen for Widows, definitely. Adam McKay for Backseat. I'm not sure, with Green Room, that's Peter Farrelly. I don't, again, we kind of had the same conversation a couple years ago when Big Short came out, but it's like, do we really want to give the guy who directed Anchorman a Best Director nomination this year? But, yep, we did. So, again, this year, with Green Book, do we want to give the guy who directed Dumb and Dumber 2 Best Director this year? Anyways, yeah. So I would say, yeah, maybe he's got an outside shot, but it would have to be like he has to get into VGA, has to be either at the Globes or one of those, or BAFTA or somewhere. Still a possibility for Ryan Coogler for Black Panther. Let's see, who else do I have? Marielle Heller is the director on Can You Ever Forgive Me? Again, that one will have to break in a little bigger than it is right now, but yeah. All right, I think that's enough for that one. Best Actor, still hanging on to Christian Bale for Backseat. Ryan Gosling for First Man, Lucas Hedges for Boy Erased, Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. And I do have, like I mentioned, Vigo in now for Green Room, or Green Room, Green Book. Then we've got Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, which I'm looking right now at Gold Derby. He's actually the front runner right now. I don't know. We'll have to see. I could be dead wrong that he could actually win this thing this year. Who knows? Robert Redford, definitely one to look out for. We kind of mentioned it was at Venice, but at Eternity's Gate was the new Willem Dafoe film. Sounds like, yeah, as Vincent Van Gogh, he gives a really good performance, but we'll have to see. That one, I believe, does not have a release date yet either, so that one's on shaky ground. We mentioned Steve Carell for Beautiful Boy, Hugh Jackman for the front runner. Again, maybe some love for John David Washington for his performance in Black Klansman. Okay, we'll move on to lead actress now, where I have Saoirse Ronan out front for Mary Queen of Scots, then Viola Davis for Widows, Melissa McCarthy, Can You Ever Forgive Me, Felicity Jones for On the Basis of Sex, and Olivia Colman for The Favorite. For the outside contenders here, The Wife, Glenn Close's new film, that went into it started to expand now in its limited release, and actually did pretty well this weekend. So, yeah, we'll see. This one opened in the first part of August, and now it's kind of starting to expand a little bit more. So we'll see if that one takes off. Because at first, and she's still the front runner right now on Gold Derby at least, but we'll see. At first, yeah, I thought she would get a nomination because Glenn Close usually in the conversation when she's got a film out, but we'll see. Then Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, I don't have in yet either, but that could change. We mentioned Nicole Kidman for Destroyer. Yalitza Aparicio for Roma. We did see somebody like, God, I can't even remember her name now. Emmanuelle Riva for Amour. She got in a couple years ago. So sometimes they do go for that, the foreign actresses, especially in this category, yeah. Then we mentioned Kiki Lane for If Beale Street Could Talk. And the other one was Amanda Stenberg for The Hate You Give, and also Keira Knightley for Colette. Okay, moving over to supporting actor. I've still got, like I said, Sam Rockwell for Backseat, then Timothée Chalamet for Beautiful Boy, Daniel Kaluuya for Widows, Mahershala Ali in fourth for Green Book, and Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me again. We didn't talk about this one, but Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born. A lot of the reviews when they were talking about possible Oscar prospects, his name didn't come up very often. So yeah, he might get bumped down even further. Then we've got this one again. I'm not sure if it's going to pan out or not, but Adam Driver for Black Klansman. For me, I thought Topher Grace was the better performance of those two, but. Then Michael B. Jordan for Black Panther. Again, we'll see. Russell Crowe for Boy Erased, I would put a little more stock in. And then Stephen James for If Beale Street Could Talk, I could put some stock in. Yeah, I think the rest of these are pretty long shots at this rate. But I don't know. We might have more to come in that category later. All right, I've still got, like I said, for supporting actress, Regina King out front for If Beale Street Could Talk. Then Margot Robbie for Mary Queen of Scots. Claire Foy for First Man, Amy Adams for Backseat, and then I have put Emma Stone in for The Favorite, knocked out Nicole Kidman there, but definitely Nicole Kidman, Boy Erased. It could be a double nominee this year, yeah. I'd say her and, Lucas Hedges, since both of those performances are lead actor, you can't get nominated twice in the same category. So, yeah, I'm trying to think who else. Was there anybody else this year? Well, maybe Claire Foy for lead for Girl in the Spider's Web, but we'll see. That one didn't play at the festivals. First of all, it doesn't really fit for the festival circuit. And then, we did see Rooney Mara get nominated for the same role a few years ago. Let's see, we mentioned Nicole Kidman there. Rachel Weisz for The Favorite could bump out Emma Stone, or they could both get in. We mentioned Michelle Yeoh for Crazy Rich Asians, Sissy Spacek for The Old Man and the Gun. Yeah, I think that's really about it. Yeah, we're going to leave it at that. Okay, in the original screenplay race, I changed that up a little bit. The Favorite is still number one for me. Then Backseat, Roma, Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and in fifth place is Green Book. I did boot out 8th Grade, but we'll see. And then, other than that, I think Original screenplay is really starting to bottom out here after that, because then you got Bohemian Rhapsody as a possibility. Isle of Dogs, I think, is definitely a possibility. They do really like Wes Anderson in this category. Maybe A Quiet Place, maybe. Yeah, that'd be an odd fit. Yeah, I'm looking through everything else here, and it's like maybe mid '90s, but again, the screenplay wasn't particularly something that people praised. And then Colette is an original screenplay this year, so if that one does start to take off, maybe that could sneak in there. And then for adapted screenplay, I have If Beale Street Could Talk out front, then Black Klansman, First Man, Widows, and Can You Ever Forgive Me? Again, keeping an eye on A Star Is Born here, which, yeah, that sounds like from the complaints here, too, because there were a couple people that didn't like it. The really cliched material and stuff, a lot of that would probably come from the screenplay, so that might not get in for that reason. Then Beautiful Boy, Black Panther is a possibility for a screenplay here, but not a high one for me, I don't think. I would rather say the Crazy Rich Asians will probably... Crazy Rich Asians, the screenplay for that, there were a couple, because when I think screenplay, I usually think like dialogue and all that fun stuff first. So for me, I thought there were a couple memorable lines in Crazy Rich Asians. So yeah, then the front runner, it is a possibility. Reitman's no stranger to the screenplay categories there, whether it's just his films or if it's him himself. And then Boy Erased, Mary Quinn Scott's. Anything else here? Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Anyways, yeah, so other than that, yeah, we've already mentioned, the Mr. Rogers documentary for documentary feature. Any other early calls at this stage from from any other big categories there? Animated feature, we'll have to see if, because that one, I think it's really, I don't think there's any one main front runner there, because, Incredibles 2 grossed a ton of money at the box office. So did Finding Dory. That didn't end up getting nominated. Both were very well critically received as well. So yeah, I definitely think it'll probably get in this year. But what else here? And then Wreck-It Ralph 2 comes out in the fall in November there. There was one. Okay, there's a couple other ones, but they're not coming to mind right now. Yeah, so yeah, that animated feature category I think is going to be a little question mark right now. I don't think there's a clear front runner yet. But for the animated short, though, I did really like that animated short in front of Incredibles 2. When they make the dumplings and stuff, that was a fun one. And also kind of had some emotional beats to it. So that one I could see winning for an early call there. Yeah, I'd say the tech categories. I think they're not really my focus right now. Nothing's really sticking out to me. And usually those categories will fill up with some Best Picture nominees and then maybe one other, that stands out. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna call it there for the kind of this little festivals wrap up, and yeah, so this will probably be it for videos for a little bit. Yeah, we've got New York Film Festival that'll be coming up in October. The AFI Fest is coming up in November. Yeah. Other than that, we'll get into early frontrunner and probably just do an overall October update, and those will be coming relatively soon.